Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode. And I've got a fantastic guest for you right from around the corner, Adam Goldman. And he's going to talk to us all about investing and franchising, how to create a business, how to diversify your income streams. And his latest book, The Franchisee Lifestyle. You can check it out. It's on Amazon. And I'm really happy to get into the talk with you. Is Adam, welcome.
Thank you so much, Chris. Very nice to be here today.
Yeah. Start off by a brief introduction and then we'll dive right into the conversation.
So, look, over the past 14 years, I have been very intimately involved in the franchising world. Just to give you some sense, after I graduated from business school, I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I sold my business in Europe that I own and did some real estate investing right after the last recession in 2008 and just wasn't sure. My friend said, "Hey, you should look into franchising." And I didn't know much about franchises. I thought maybe McDonald's and French fries, and did some research and kind of resonated. I'm really good at following process, but not as good at creating it from scratch. And opened my own office cleaning master franchise in Houston in 2010. Had that business running for about 8.5 years. And someone decided to give me an unsolicited offer for it. And it's a good offer, and figured that a good avenue for me over the past 7.5 years, I started this part time, was to be a connector. And that's my role now, where I go ahead and my service is free for potential doctors or anyone that's looking at investing in something. And I'm here to narrow down the franchise space to the top 3 brands that would make the most sense for you.
Yeah, interesting. And so we'll dive into the your story, which is really interesting. This idea of systems and processes they can. So talk about appeal of franchising as a career transition and why it's an attractive exit strategies for a lot of professionals today.
So, look, I think that the most important thing if you're starting a business is how you're able to scale that business, especially if you're not necessarily a business person, maybe by training. Maybe you have some business acumen, but maybe you haven't gotten your MBA or gotten business trained. And so when you're buying a franchise business, you're buying a system and you're buying a brand name. And people tend to underestimate how important that system is, especially when it comes to going ahead and scaling your business. And I would also say that it's just a really great way to just have something where you could potentially start it sometimes semi absentee with managers. And then further on, go ahead and invest and transition into it being full time.
Yeah, really, again, if you're interested in systems and processes and like a turnkey, franchising is a attractive option. Talk about the down getting started, the downsides, because I know you have to have significant amount of capital. Talk about key factors in choosing the right franchise.
Absolutely. So obviously, the amount of money you invest is part of this decision, right? But there's a misconception, Chris, in my industry. People think that you need to spend millions in order to start a business. I have plenty of businesses that you can get in all in for less than $200,000, right? That's definitely possible. Service companies. And there's also a misconception that you need to spend a lot to make a lot. It all depends on how good of an operator you are. And look, I've had plenty of people that have started inexpensive service companies and scaled them into multi units. That's possible in the business as well.
Yeah. The next question is when I hear franchise, it reminds me of a lot about real estate investing. And a lot of the audience are doctors and for them and lawyers, dentists, for them, real estate has been the go-to. It's like easy to understand. It's like a capital preservation, cash flow. How is franchising different than real estate investment or the similarities?
Great question. So, look, when I think of real estate as an investment class, I think it's great. But my understanding of real estate, especially right now with what we're having like a really hard time, especially for commercial real estate, where there's lots of risk involved, I believe that a great franchise brand really has a place in portfolios, diversified portfolios. Yes, you could invest in the stock market, right? But people are talking about the volatility of the stock market. We don't know what's going to happen in the next 6 months or 6 hours in the stock market. Some people say that it's overvalued. The difference between this and other investments is there's no such thing as totally absentee investing in franchising. And what I mean by that is it's not like you give money to an index fund, a REIT, and you let it go, you have situations where you at least have to be involved somehow. And actually, some franchise brands have the best of both worlds in that you have a real estate component and you also have a system and process where you're putting some of your time and having success.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that those analogies. The next follow-up question to that is what sort of niche are in vogue or the blue chip niches and then like the up and coming? How do people find their particular sector to franchise in?
So so glad you asked that question, Chris, because I get asked all the time about hot new brands like things such as Crumble Cookie, which by the way isn't so hot anymore. If I drive past now in Bel Air, I don't see as many people waiting in line. I'm less focused on fads and more focused on things that 10, 20, or 30 years from now are going to be around. And I'm less focused on specific industries and more focused on things such as profitability, sustainability of the model, and also just kind of characteristics. If I have someone that's a busy doctor at MD Anderson and they need something that they can run semi-absentee, I'm not going to give them a business that they need to run as an owner operator, right? So I don't mean to dodge this question, but I have 75, I have brands that are in 75 industries that are pre-screened.
Yeah. And so how do you help clients? What is your role? Because you talked about connector or you a franchise coach and how people are listening to this are like, oh, I'm interested. How can you help them achieve their goals?
So first step is just to go to my website. You can either go to franchiseadam.com and schedule a 15-minute chat. If you're not a fit, I promise to let you know. The other idea is to go to franchisecoach.net to find out more about me and the process that I have. There's also a scheduling link there. And the way that my process works is that first, if I think you're a great fit for my free service, if I make a successful match, the franchise brand pays us, not you. What would happen is we'd have that first chat, then you'd fill out a survey, then we'd have a more in-depth conversation. And then after that conversation, I'd write a 2-page letter or model where I'm not even worried about brand, but more focused on characteristics of an ideal franchise for you. And then I'd narrow it down to these top 3 brands in your geographical area, whether or not it's Houston or somewhere else in the US or Canada. Then connect you with these top 3. And throughout the course of this process of investigation, I'd be there for you as a guide.
Yeah. And you also have a book, The Franchisee Lifestyle. And for the audience, these links will be in the show notes. But what are the key ideas or give the audience a flavor of what's to come?
So what I would say is this, that in the franchisee lifestyle, I talk to real franchisees because I think that most people, what they're looking for freedom. I'm not talking about not working at all, but I'm talking about working on their own terms. You can relate to this with your background in medicine. A lot of people in medicine or other industries don't have that freedom. They're at the behest of someone else. The most successful franchisees are able to work when they want to work, whether or not it's early morning or after hours or on weekends. And they can take these trips that they really want to do or see their kids' softball games when otherwise they're not able to. And the franchisee lifestyle just investigates the whole idea about how a great franchise brand can really work inside that portfolio for achieving different financial goals and dreams.
Yeah, it's all about freedom. I talk about time, location, emotional, and financial. And so franchisee is part of that. And I love this idea for the audience really resonates working on your own terms, not because my healthcare, you're tied to a hospital and employer. I'm really interested in trends, looking into emerging trends in the industry. What opportunities are on the horizon for potential franchisees and how can they capitalize on these trends?
So let's talk about the industry, what's happened over the past 5 or 10 years. So I'm finding a lot more interest in things that are recession resistant, because some people say we might be heading for a recession right now, different businesses that are need to have as opposed to nice to have. So that's one thing that I would say. The second trend that I'm finding is that I'm finding that people that are doing brick and mortar retail, right? They're doing things that are service related that might have a smaller footprint. So for instance, I have certain businesses that are failing, not franchises, but you think about things such as a Chuck E. Cheese or a Best Buy, and I'm seeing franchise businesses coming into those existing footprints, which is great. So there really are winners and losers after this pandemic. And I'm finding that the things that really have a need as opposed to a nice to have are ones that are really the winners.
Yeah, need and that's yeah, and especially in these days and age, future proofing, resist recession, any sort of risk proofing your business, which brings me to my another follow-up question is because around the world, I travel in commercial real estate and I see a lot of companies and business shut their doors after COVID and hearing like the margins on retail. We got the Amazon effect and just people not buying. Talk about the brick and mortar franchisee versus if there's such things as online or digital types of franchises.
So great question. So look, I have two types of franchise businesses. I have retail, right, which is brick and mortar, and that might be McDonald's, right, or Orange Theory Fitness, right, anything that involves a storefront. The second type I have are things that are service businesses. Now, things such as an Amazon drop shipping or something like that, or an online business, that doesn't really work as much in my world. When I talk about a non-brick and mortar business, it might be something like a mosquito spraying business where you have really high margins and you have a territory, right? But you don't have a physical location that you need to sign a lease for 10 years. And a lot of people are getting very excited about these non-brick and mortar businesses, even people that are running it as semi-absentee or with managers because you don't have to sign a 10-year lease.
Yeah, and it's all about kind of flexibility. And again, also with real estate, it's you're tied to one physical. A lot of people are looking at different things or ending the podcast interview. So one thing is talking about is this multi-unit franchising and talk about success and advantages of challenge of owning multiple and what are key skills and strategies required for successfully managing multiple locations.
So look, let's talk about multiple, right? So you could expand your franchise horizontally, right? But you could also decide to invest in numerous different businesses. So every year I have people that buy businesses that are diverse. It might be someone buys a swim school and also some sort of a service company. And it's very smart because they're able sometimes to spread their risk between two industries that are not related at all. I also have people that are trying to scale their business. And if you really understand your business, why wouldn't you go ahead and reserve territory, protect territory, and be able to scale? Now, keep in mind, Chris, that the way you scale a non-brick and mortar business is different than the way you would scale a brick and mortar business. The way you scale an actual retail is to open a new location. Maybe if you have a mosquito spraying company, I'm just using that as an example, you just need to get a new truck in order to do that. So scalability is really important. And in fact, for my candidates, I have them ask themselves how they would scale a business as they go through the process of investigating different options.
Yeah. How can people find out more about you? And if they're interested in this area, learn more, reach out to you, work with you, and so on.
As I mentioned earlier, best place to schedule a free, no obligation, quick chat. I promise to tell you if I don't think you're a good fit would be at franchiseadam.com. The other place is franchisecoach.net. It's a great place to see the kind of things that I do and find out more about my free service.
Yeah. And really, we have quite a few franchise coaches come on. And so this is an interesting area. You can succeed at it, seek professional advice and really interesting conversation. And thanks so much for coming on.
Chris, thank you so much for having me on.